Alrighty then, guys, welcome back to the channel known as Azure. As always, I'm your most humblest of hosts, Daniel, followed almost as always by my co-host.
Julian.
And today we're going to be talking about John Carpenter's 1982 film, The Thing, which is, well, as you can tell by what I just said before, a film released in 1982, debut that stars an alien life form that could switch or transform into anything it has contact with, like either physical, blood, or anything else like that. Now, what I want to take away is that what you told me before, Julian, is that this actually is a cult classic, meaning that upon its release, it was really panned by critics and audiences alike. Please elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's considered a either inaccuracy or an exaggeration. Where this is an example where in our cultural zeitgeist we see it as a success, such as on Stranger Things or other shows about the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But in the original one, no kid or adult would really actually like the thing when it came out or during the years it originally happened, because it was only on home video release that it really became a success, which is basically the straight to DVDs before DVDs were a thing.
So you mean like VHS tapes and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's why they say home video, because it wasn't
yeah.
straight to VHS.
Of course, of course.
But yeah, so originally this was considered a D-list movie by a hack director that was a grotesque abomination compared to the original film of the 1950s called A Thing from Another World.
Yeah, cause if you guys don't know, that the whole thing timeline is a little convoluted because there's A Thing from Another World, the 1956 movie, I believe, right? 56.
Yes.
All right.
Around
then yeah, then there's this one, 1982, The Thing, and then like almost 30 years later, well, actually 31 years later, we have The Thing, the 2011 kind of prequel sequel type deal, because it goes The Thing from Another World, then 2011 The Thing, and then 1982's The Thing. So yeah, it's kind of convoluted. Then there's also the video game too, which I actually did look up. John Carpenter says it is canon.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I had a feeling. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's canon.
yeah, I looked it up after we watched the movie. Yeah, it is canon. So
It's
yeah,
a pretty good sequel too, as long other than like it makes the ambiguous ending not ambiguous.
oh yeah, of course, of course. We'll dive right into that more towards the end of the video when we get done with the whole like analysis. So
But
yeah,
but unlike the 2011 film that will always be considered a terrible remake of the 1982 one, this one became so popular people don't even remember the 50s one, even though it was actually a pretty decent film.
of course, yeah,
in
because
its
I
own
remember you were talking about it during when we were watching the first one. Yeah, the 50s one was actually pretty. It wasn't like a verbatim adaptation of the book that it comes from, because it's also, of course, from a book called Who Goes There or A Thing from Another World. One of those two titles. Can't fully remember. But yeah, so originally this original source material is a book. I forget the author's name. God damn it. So yeah.
But so basically what it is that Carpenter did actually like the original one. So I think he said in an interview, don't quote me on this at all, is that he did say, it's like, this isn't a replacement, you still can watch the original. I actually like it a lot.
Of course, yeah, like, cause I'm pretty sure like if he did like the original, which like you're saying, which I'm not technically going to quote for you, like he wanted to make this a somewhat standalone film, which ergo goes the ambiguous ending, meaning that yeah, sure, this is what happened or this is what could happen, but if he'd ever decided to make a sequel, then he could just left out there. But oh, as you can see, like he never did decide to make a sequel, and someone else did, and that was terrible.
Well, it's funny though, because it's not actually
A
something
sequel,
original.
yeah.
It's not. Carpenter's version isn't something original. Is he wanted to make it? I'm pretty sure he wanted to make it closer to the original.
Oh, yeah, that's
Which
what I
is the
mean by like
novel.
this whole standalone thing. That I didn't mean to say it was like original. I meant to say it's more of a standalone movie, as
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you could watch A Thing from Another World first, and then you could watch The Thing, and then there will be like two different movies to you.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
they won't coincide with each other.
Yeah, where the 2011 one is just a complete ripoff of the thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
1982. 1982, we'll have to say, while
Okay.
still talking about it. Yeah, the one thing I'll say, though, is you said it yourself with the special effects. They look amazing.
Of course, yeah. Like,
There's only a couple of ones that can look kind of bad, because Carpenter knew one thing, and it's basically you want to keep your special effects hidden, and you want them to be quick, as the longer you see it, the more noticeable the special effects will be.
of course, but yeah, like for these special effects though, like they're done so well and they're almost done so seamless that I can't even tell where the cuts are. Like, and I usually do like a whole deep dive into whenever I see like some practical effects. Like, I'll point out wires, I'll point out some explosives, there in the scene. Like, of course I'll be drawn into the scene of the movie, but I'll also notice these like cute like little differences that I don't know if I've ever told you I've done before, because I'm pretty sure I've kept this part to myself. So
Have
that's
you?
just
No, in reviews, yes. When we're watching them, no.
oh, okay. Well, there you go. Because I'm not always 100% sure if I keep a lot of stuff to myself or not.
So with the
So
audience, this is the first time you're hearing it. Well, on
yeah,
YouTube, I think you said it on Twitch before about games, but that's a separate thing.
of course, yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, like the most of the effects, like they're always so seamless in the fact that no matter how much I look at them, or even if I do like a quick play by play, I'll barely be able to see like where real meets fiction in this movie.
Yeah,
That goes to show like his attention to detail too.
yeah. Well, that's why it's done so well too. The speed is that you'll notice that less. So you had to really go frame by frame, which nobody would really do. Most people wouldn't do.
Of
Like
course.
one of the best ones is when the guy's doing the defibrillator, right?
Oh yes,
And
of
then
course.
and so it's really quick how it opens and closes, so you can't really notice any of the special effects. It just looks like it's opening and closing naturally.
Of course, of course. And if you guys don't know, like, if you guys haven't seen the thing, let's just do a quick rundown, real quick.
Full spoilers ahead.
Yeah, full spoilers ahead. Well, that's it goes to show for all our videos either way.
Still
Yeah.
good to say.
Yes, either way. So the thing is about a group of researchers composed of all men because well, that's what the original source material was. Either way, and they're in the Arctic and they discover like some Norwegians trying to shoot a dog down, which they don't know is an alien life form, but the Norwegians do. Ergo, trying to shoot it down. And so they kill the Norwegians. They take the dog in, and lo and behold, this thing starts to assimilate people. It starts with like someone we don't see because this thing is also like a paranoia psychological horror type film. Like it plays with your mind more so than it is in your face scary. Because the whole film is basically like, oh, who can I trust? Who can I trust? Can I even trust myself if I'm a thing or not? Like, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's one of them. It's just a very psychological horror. There's many different types of horrors, and like slasher things like that, or jump scares. But this one's very long, drawn out.
Of course,
you really
yeah.
think, no music, and you just see the characters' faces kind of change very subtly to note, and you had to notice things in the backgrounds to see how they truly feel about things.
Yeah.
And one of the best examples is Wilford Brimley, rest his soul. He has this one part as when he goes crazy when he gets locked up. There's a noose that shows that he he hanged himself.
Yeah, well, he was thinking about hanging himself, yes.
Yeah, it's either he's thinking about hanging himself or he did, and then the thing took over, and that's why he's still around talking, is because it's not really him, it's...
Yeah.
And so it's things like that where you have to notice because it's very calm film. It's not going to immediately show every scene or person's action or reaction. It's just you had to see what their drive is, and all of it does make sense by the end of it, but how each character reacts. At least the ones that get developed.
Yeah, that's why. Well, I mean, for the most part, most of these characters are developed, aside from like maybe like the dog breeder, or like the caretaker of the dogs. I forget his name because, yeah, he just doesn't really isn't that developed. But aside from him, maybe like maybe Norris. I think that's the dude that had the heart attack. He's not really that developed. He's just there just to die.
Yeah,
So,
isn't that the one that has like that pretty disappointing death where he just gets a heart attack?
Yeah, that's why. I called that like the worst death in that movie because like you have this thing that could assimilate, and like this thing assimilated itself to having the person having a heart attack. I'm like, why? Just why?
I mean, the best death is like, oh yeah, but
Yeah.
there's you're right about that. But I had another thought that came to my mind.
Oh,
And
go ahead.
it's the best death is the one with the dogs, and the thing about the special effects is the worst special effect is right before Kurt Russell says like "fuck you too," right? When it shows the thing for too long, that is a really bad looking special effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can tell directly it's a puppet. That's why.
Yeah, see that's an example of like that, and I think the one with the head when it was on for too long, that shows why it needs to be in the shade, and it needs to be like.
Well, in the shade, you mean in the shadows?
Yeah, well, just like not fully exposed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it needs to be like quick, because if you stay on it for too long, you can notice its imperfections. And it's called uncanny valley, especially for CG, where the longer you look at something and the more when it looks realistic but not realistic enough, it looks more unnatural, which can work, but in this film, it's not supposed to work like that.
Of course. Well, I mean, like back to the head thing, like when you're talking about when it grew legs, or you're talking about when it's pulling off from its own body?
Basically,
Which part?
I forget which part. I mean, it's one of them though. It's like
Yeah, because
I'm trying to remember.
the whole head pulling itself away from the body, it looks pretty seamless in itself. Like
Yeah,
you could kind of tell like they're pulling it from the top of the head because the hairs are kind of moving too, but it's less noticeable because there's a whole cut, like the borders are cutting through it.
yeah. It's like
Since it's
one
more
of
of
the
a
parts is
widescreen
really
movie.
good. One of the parts is really good, but the other part of it's supposed to be like not the best. It's not
Hmm.
terrible. Like the only really bad part is the part where it's at the end, where it's like right
Yeah,
before
just the
Kurt
big
Russell
old
does the
puppet
cool scene.
thing, the whole
Yeah,
amalgamation with it, with everything in it.
yeah. It's so cool though. It's so cool what Kurt Russell does to it, where you just
Oh, of course,
post
yeah.
But honestly, the best head tearing part out, like, because the dog scene's the best death scene, but the
Hmm.
best like reveal is when it's obviously just the famous scene, the test scene, where he's
Oh, of
testing
course,
every
yeah.
guy out, and it's like, I bet
Right.
you'd like that, or something like that, and then he
Okay.
does it, and then it goes, ah, and then like it goes back to the blood, and then the guy just rips it.
Of course, and if you guys don't know what we're
Yeah.
talking about, like the famous blood scene is like Kurt Russell's character R.J. McCready has a flamethrower trained on the rest of the crew who are tied up on a chair, and him and Windows, the dude that trusted McCready, they cut the thumbs of them like to make little pools of blood because they figured out that the thing, like even though it's one whole creature, each individual cell has its own mindset. So if not, it's not gonna listen to like the main brain. Each thing has a mind of its own. So if you burn one part, that thing is gonna do whatever it can to stay alive. So that's why he's doing the whole copper wire test where he heats up the copper wire. My bad. Heats up the copper wire and burns the blood to see if it will react in a defensive way or not. And all
Yeah.
except for I don't know who it was. It's not Niles. I know that. It's not Childs either. It's not Gary. Who is
It's not
that?
Clark. It's the guy. It's basically the guy who has like no development. And I think part of the reason he might not have that much development is to make it a surprise, because he barely
Maybe,
gets
yeah.
talked about. Right? It's
I
like,
mean,
oh, it's the guy no one talked about.
he does have that one character where he's a stoner too. You see, he
Yeah,
has one quick scene with Childs smoking a joint and everything like that.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
So I guess that's
Uh,
also a delve into why he doesn't have that much character development because if he's not on screen, he's probably getting stoned.
yeah, and then there was. I mean, the honest answer though is the three characters that get the most focus is Keith David's character,
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Russell,
Of course.
and Roper
Childs.
Brimley.
Robert Grimley. I thought really.
He has a pretty big focus, honestly.
Oh yeah. I confused Keith Davis with someone else. My bad. That's why.
Yeah, Keith David
Alright.
is like.
Yeah.
He's
Keith
so
David-
good in this. I'm pretty sure they referenced it even in like Saints Row or some other things where they reference like Kurt Russell and Keith David fighting in the thing, or it might have been They Live, but I don't think that's Kurt Russell. No, that's a different one. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is a pretty famous like movie with Keith David along with They Live, and he's a really good actor too.
Of course. This
in
is.
things like Spawn and I mean They Live also, which isn't that
Mhm.
another Carpenter film?
I think so. Maybe I
I think-
have to look
I-
at his filmography, if anything.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why I mixed it up. But yeah, like those are the two films where he was like he's a great villain, but not villain
Esque. Like
like
he has the attributes to make you suspicious of him, but at the end of the day, he like the suspicions are justified in a sense of why he's acting this way. Which is another thing too, like no one is absolved from any suspicion in this movie. Like it could literally be anybody, in a sense. Like the thing could be anybody, because like you don't know it's assimilated to you until it's too late. I.e. when the guy tries to hang himself, like he feels that he might be assimilated into the thing, so he tries to hang himself. But by the time he already sets up the noose, it's too late, and the thing just makes him not do it anymore.
yeah, or especially that scene with the computer where it says like 75% chance for others to be infected, and he kind of looks, then he
Mhm.
kind of looks into himself,
Of
and
course,
it goes, oh, well,
Am I infected? Better not
Yeah.
take the chance and all that stuff.
yeah, and it's
Mhm.
also shown too where he's infected because he destroys all the machinery, because he's basically
Well, no,
saying
in
"I
that
don't
sense,
want-"
like in that sense, he explains that he's trying to stop the thing from trying to reach other outposts. That's why.
yeah, that is
So
that,
it's more of like a sense like even if I'm assimilated, I'm not gonna let this thing take over my body until I destroy all these computers and radios.
yeah,
That's
it is one of those like. Well, that's part of it too, right? Where it's
Mhm.
like, well, did the thing try to do that because he knew he could wait out it, or was it Wilford Brimley's last stand on like stopping this thing before he completely goes
Of course,
over?
Yeah, because like in a way, like no matter how you look at this film, Like your way can actually work out in a sense. Like any which way could work out, and what you think it is, what you think.
Really,
Like
this
you
film
got,
was just a predator, but the predator's a coward with no honor, just trying
that's
to
true.
live, just trying to live. Right? It's the same thing because at the end you see the thing, you see what both of them thinking they could possibly be the thing, right? With Kurt Russell and
Childs
Keith,
and
yeah,
yeah,
Kurt and Keith
Childs
David's
and
character.
McCready.
Yeah, so yeah, there you go, Childs and McCreed, and like both of them don't know, but they both kind of have that respect and kind of just like, well, both of us will die anyway. May as well just
Exactly.
keep calm about it. Whereas it's
That's
kind
what
of the
just
same
enjoy.
thing where like,
Yeah.
yeah, you may as well enjoy yourself. Kind of like how with Predator, with the Predator, it's like as long as you were a worthy fighter,
Hmm.
it'll give you a worthy death.
Of course.
Where
Yeah.
at the end with the thing is like, oh, okay, I'll accept my defeat, and he just kind of like chills.
Of
Both
course.
of
Then
them.
like that reminds you like what you said. Probably the best line was like, even the best line in the movie that you probably say was, "Oh yeah, we might not make it out of this alive, but we know damn well that it's not gonna make it out alive either." It's not that's not verbatim, but I know that's what you said. The best line of the movie was.
Yeah, it's definitely like up there.
Of course,
It
like
would,
because
if there was
know
a top
like
10, itd be there.
yeah, because like even if you can't kill this thing, and you yourself are gonna die, as long as you're gonna take this thing with you.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't stay alive, then your death meant something.
Exactly. But in a sense, like back to the whole video game thing, where we find out, like, yeah, Kurt Russell was the one infected with the thing.
No, he
Spoilers galore. Yeah, because at the end of the game, we see Kurt Russell's character McCready pilot the chopper that leads the other people to safety, and we figure out that Childs is the one that wasn't infected. He froze to death, while McCready, well, quote unquote McCready thing, just went into hibernation until the end of the game.
Like, could,
Yeah.
but did you see the like cutscenes or what?
Yeah, yeah. Like I saw the cutscenes like a year or so back when I first bought the thing for on Blu-ray. After I watched it, and I was like, okay, I know there's a video game on this. Might as well just watch it to see if they actually answer the question of who the thing was, Childs or McCready. And the end cutscene was McCready being the pilot of the chopper. I'm like, what the fuck? He's a thing. And now I know, and that's what I was like, okay, wait, this video game cannot be canon because then it just ruins the whole Carpenter ending. And then you brought up the fact that Carpenter does consider this thing canon, and I looked it up, and he's like, yep, Carpenter does consider this canon. So there we go. McCready was a thing. That does raise the question of how he got infected, though. Like I always wondered that after that, like at what point did he get infected?
Yeah, that part is it's hard to say because like I could believe that, but I haven't seen the cutscenes in so long that at the very least it does ruin the fact that Childs wasn't the thing, and so there is that kind of like, oh well, now we know who it is.
Well, I mean, like they basically show McCready like hints of him throughout the game, but he's not fully there until the end of the game. So there's no really point to wondering how he got infected. Then I'm wondering in the movie when he got infected. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that's true. I'm checking it
So,
right
yeah.
now, actually.
Okay, go ahead. Well, yeah. So yeah, back to like I want to backtrack a bit to like the music. Like the music also does play a key role into this because like whenever the
No,
thing
it
has
doesn't say that in the game. It just
No?
says that he reveals his identity. It doesn't say he's the thing.
Well, I mean, like he froze to death. He was supposed to freeze to death either way because Childs froze to death, in a sense. So I mean, it makes you draw the conclusion that he is the thing.
Oh yeah, that's a conclusion, but it's not guaranteed. It's an interpretation. We'll say that. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, come on. What else are you gonna say? Like they basically explain that Childs did freeze to death, and you would expect McCready to freeze to death too. But since he survived, you say, oh yeah, the thing survived in the frozen. So if McCready survived, then yeah, he's a thing.
But it's just like what you said, right? It's like, how could we say that if we never see how he could have gotten affected, as it never got close to him? So
Okay,
yes.
so yeah, it's either he's a thing or somehow he survived 100 degrees below zero.
Yes, the theory is
temperature.
has a lot of strong points to it, but is not fully confirmed by anybody fully. So let's just say that
Maybe.
it's one of those things where it's like if it's not fully confirmed, then there is a possibility that he's not the thing. So there is some ambiguity. The only problem is that the Childs wasn't, which does kind of ruin
Yeah.
the ambiguity of the ending. But it is cool to see McCready come back at the end.
Yeah, even though he may be a thing or not.
Yeah, or even then, it doesn't have make sense how he'd get the chopper and not die.
Well, I mean,
if
they
he's
came
human.
in the chopper either way.
Yeah, but like, how did he get like how did he get rescued, or how was he able to get one? Right, like
No, I'm saying like, you know how they mentioned that there's a rescue team coming in to take their shift or like
yeah.
a shift switch. That's how it is. Like the thing was gonna bide its time to wait for the shift switch, and that the game follows the shift switch. Like that's the new crew that's supposed to switch out with McCready's crew.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is that like they said that they were. This is too much about the game discussion, so this will be the last thing we say.
Yeah.
Is basically there is some things where it's kind of like, okay, but they said they were both gonna die no matter what because they would take too long for the trip crew to get there, and if he was human, he would have died from the sub-zero temperature no matter how fast the ship crew would get there. But
That's what I'm
that's for
saying,
another
like,
time.
yeah.
What we're getting at is that we really like the what is it? We really like the film, cult classic. Play the game is actually a pretty good one. Watch Thing from Another World and read the novel if you want to. The only thing you shouldn't do with this extended universe is to not watch the 2011 film, and that's it.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far. I mean, like, if you want to watch this 2011 film because you're a completionist, go for it by all means. Just take it with a grain of salt. That's all. That's all we're saying.
Oh,
Like,
well, that's what you're saying. When I'm saying
that's what
don't,
I'm saying.
don't
Yeah,
watch it. Yeah.
I'm saying take it with a grain of
Don't
salt because
watch it.
I'm probably gonna end up watching it either way because my uncle has the movie actually, and I've been meaning to watch it just to see how it is. Because I've seen clips and everything. Like, I've seen CG clips and I know it's terrible. The CG is terrible, and all that. But I'm still kind of curious. That's the thing. If curiosity gets the better of you, then go by all means go for it, watch it. But again, take it with a grain of salt, and don't let it ruin like your love or your likeness for this franchise.
Well, the one good thing is that it didn't ruin anything about the original film, so it is better than what sequel reboots do, where they'll desecrate the original characters by doing certain things to them, or like insulting what they did in the original films. So that's the one thing I'll give to the remake. It doesn't go, depending on your interpretation, it doesn't go the whole Star Wars sequel or the Ghostbuster reboots effect, where they kind of disrespect at least the actors or the characters, because there's no characters from the 1982 film in sight. Which is the one good thing I'll say about the remake, is that nobody remembers it, nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
1982 is
the only reason but the only reason like they doesn't really like delve into the whole 1982 territories because this one follows the 2011 film follows the Norwegian crew. That's why.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying is that I know that. I'm saying that's the one good thing that the film.
Of course, but I'm also just further explaining it for the audience who hasn't who hasn't seen it. No, I think we just mentioned the film. We didn't say what the 2011 film was about.
We said timeline wise that it was the 1952 thing, the one you said, and then 1982, 1956. Wait, 1956, right?
Well, we didn't say that the prequel followed the Norwegian crew. That's why. So I was just saying that.
Oh yeah,
that's why.
We didn't bring that up, but we did say chronologically.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess we could have said. I guess we could have said, yeah. It's 3 crews, and the third crew is this one.
Well, 4 if you want to count the video game.
I thought the video game is the 4th crew, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why. But you said 3 crews.
Well, I'm saying the movie we're talking about is the.
Okay, yeah. Movie wise, 3 crews. Whole franchise wide, 4 crews. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. If we're going by, but if we're counting the comics and some other stuff, then there is more. But that would be way too long lore wise. This is just about the film.
Of course.
Let's just put the Thing franchise at this point.
Yeah, basically just the Thing whole franchise.
Yeah, but mainly the film. And so I guess do you want to talk about the game for a bit then, from the cutscenes you saw?
I mean, like, not in a sense because again I haven't seen the cutscenes in a year, and the only one that really stuck with me was that final cutscene with the Thing revealing himself to be McCready and all that. So I can't really say verbatim, or like give some sense of inference as to what the game is about. That's why.
Yeah, it is funny though because John Carpenter is actually a big gamer.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, he really likes them.
That's some new information to me.
Yeah. Especially like Carpenter. Now I'll probably talk about this when we talk about his other films, but his stuff with synth music, I always liked it about.
Of course, yeah. I was trying to take it back to the whole music of the Thing too. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, basically. But in this film, it doesn't matter because there basically is barely any music in this, which is really good about the isolation. So that's why I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's very little amounts in this film.
Yeah,
does have any
that's what the only main piece of score we have is the Thing's actual theme, the whole dun 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 that thing. Like,
And it's
yeah.
got that guttural growl whenever it gets like it screams. It's like the screams like the start to the song a lot of times.
Of course. And like even if you hear that, you know, like, oh, it's gonna pop up sometime soon, but you don't know who it's gonna be. And that's what I like about the whole ambiguity of the ending too. Like, because the film ends on those notes, the whole music, the whole theme, dun 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 dun, and all that stuff. The film ends on it, so it's kind of a hint to say, oh yeah, the thing is still alive, but we don't know who it is, McCready or Childs.
Well, I think that's what's called like it might be a motif or something like that, where it's like it's just like it is the theme of it's not just the theme song of the movie, but the theme of the movie is that.
Because like even the
Like,
music in
thing.
itself like gives off a sense of isolation because it's only like one instrument basically.
Yeah, it gives up. Yeah,
Like,
because
when you think of a theme, yeah, when you think of a theme, like, you think like a whole orchestra of instruments, but no, this one's just literally that one or so. I don't
or at
know.
least like a lot of notes or a lot of instruments, like a guitar or drums. But with this, it's just it's kind of like the Jaws themes, like the beginning of it, where it's just kind of like the bum 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 bum. But with this, it's just that one note, as an example. And with Jaws, the same thing too. Is that danger? You're just hearing the. There's actually I don't know if this is the inspiration, but it's actually a thing which people get scared of. Is that there's this thing? What's it called? I'll probably bring this up in a later video in more detail. There's this thing in Russia where there's just this like one beeping sound every like minute in this one radio station for hours on end that gives that same sense of dread because it's just that one note and you're thinking, why is it there? It has that same thing in this film where it has that like kind of alien like nature to it since that's really not how music is made. It's just having one note.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. Yeah. Because like music does play like a big role in these type of films, like like all horror aspects. Like music will play like, a big role, especially like if you're trying to convey like a certain emotion or certain feeling, like isolation and all that.
Well, or also just noise in general, right? Because there's no like that's why the testing is so good. There's no noise. There's nothing being said. It's just he touches the thing, and that's when he literally touches the thing, right? And that's when boom. The scare happens. There's no right before, or there's no musical high note.
Just the whole lack of score makes you draw more and closer into it because like if there's nothing to distract you like music, it'll just draw you into the scene and what the person is actually doing. That's why.
Yeah, it also makes it like more surprising.
A way to grab the audience's attention. Yeah, also more threatening. Yeah.
It makes it an actual jump scare because you're not expecting it because they're not giving you a warning to be scared. That makes it so that this isn't a theme park ride or like one of those Chuck E. Cheese kind of things where it's like, oh, expected, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, jump scares can be fine. It's just that this ain't the movie for that, and it's done really well. And I think that might actually be a problem with the 2011 film is that they have jump scare stuff,
like musical cue jump scares and all that stuff.
Yeah, things like that. Like it has, it gets you ready for it. And also, what makes this film so good is that because this is in the dead of night, which also gets people more like isolated, feeling kind of alone.
Yeah, because this whole thing takes place like what, a day?
Yeah, and only like 25% of it's at like in the morning.
Oh yeah, like literally just the opening scene. That's it. That's the only part that's in the morning. The rest of it's at night.
Yeah, that's the thing too, where it shows how there could be a camaraderie, and that camaraderie can just get destroyed in a single day. That trust, that level of knowing a person can get destroyed.
And of course, like
in an instant, like a snap of the finger.
Yeah. Alright. Well, I think we covered all the stuff we wanted to say, unless you want to say any last minute tidbits about this movie.
The only thing I gotta say is this is a film that I'm glad I watched again, as it is a way to show my respects to Wilfred Brimley.
Of course. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, you.
And I hope I don't have to see it for a while, because, again, at least for the reason I did this time, as I don't want to see any of these other actors this happen to them soon.
Of course, yes. Alright then, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening to us. If you have any comments, you know what to do. Everything else, you already know what to do. We'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.
See ya.